All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Film School Show. My name is Jared Haskell, here for another great episode. Thank you for tuning in. Jason McCutcheon is here with me this week as well, per usual. Jason, how we doing?
Doing really good. We get to talk about a topic that I have a weird stake in, because not only have we done wedding filmmaking for a long time, but we've also done web development for people. But the funny thing about me is I actually don't care about a lot of the things that I think most people who talk about web sites for weddings really care about. So I think we'll have some rigorous discussion about it, but we want to help people figure out, like, is your website helping you or is it hurting you with your branding and sales? And, some of it will be just our observations. We're not going to be pumping out tons of data and stuff like that, but we will kind of speak from our experiences. But I'm excited to talk about this one today. Sure.
Yeah. And I think you're uniquely qualified to kind of talk about this. Because you, for years, have done Wedding Film School Live, where you've critiqued people's websites. You've seen a lot of wedding filmmakers' websites in the past.
And photographer.
And planner, and just a lot of, sites out there. And also, we've run our own production company, but also our web development firm.
Well, and we host and design websites for some industry leaders. We don't tell everybody, the people that we help.
Yep.
Planners and very high-end wedding filmmakers. Right. And so I kind of have a pretty good perspective on here's the number one thing. And after that, I'll do a nice little ad read for y'all. But the number one thing is, when you think about websites, like, it's not just straight up binary thing, with one exception. The one exception that every website must do is create inquiries. And so when we say, is it working or not working? There's a bunch of things it can do. It doesn't exclusively mean, I guess, inquiries. It could be branding and communication. There's things, it could get you inquiries and still not be optimal. But the number one thing is, like, is someone going to your site motivated to become a customer, right? And how do you know that is they fill out your form, they reach out to you and say, hey, I'd like to talk further. Like, they didn't hit your site and it became a brick wall. And they were like, either I can't figure out, or it's too annoying, or I wouldn't, even if I could, reach out to this person. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people get a little twisted here, and they almost like think about their website as like an extension of their own brain. They're like, if they like it and they feel it, like it's like a piece of art to them. And your website is not art. Your website is sales.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we dive into it, too much, why don't you give the ad read, and then we'll go ahead first.
So, of course, today's episode is brought to you, as all our episodes this season are, by Second Society. Second Society is a great website. Head over there, secondsociety.io. If you are a second shooter, go sign up. You can get cool jobs. If you need a second shooter, go sign up. You can get really, really, I would say, qualified, talented people. And of course, the more people who sign up on provider side and the service side and all that, all the shooters and all the people who need shooters, the more people who sign up, the better the site gets. So head over there. And if you want a free VIP membership for 3 months, use WFS3 when you sign up, and you can get that. And if my code was wrong, I'm sorry. Older episodes had the correct code. I'm just going off memory. So let's talk about, is your website helping you or hurting you? You talk about this a lot, Jared. What would be examples of like websites that hurt people?
Well, I think the basics of a faulty website would probably be, doesn't communicate very well and doesn't give people good direction, right? Like, if people don't know what to do, if they're lost, if they're just kind of going in circles and they don't land on your contact page ever, that's a pretty bad website.
So we would say, like, we would call that user experience, right? UX is like, what is the person's experience on your website? That if they have a bad user experience, that's a bad site. And specifically, if they can't figure out how to navigate it, which is a mix of UI and UX, that's also a very bad website. Anything else like that you're like,
And,
this
and you would think that this is like intuitive.
self-evident.
Yeah, like
I don't-
everyone would say like, oh yeah, like clearly. But then how many websites you look at from wedding filmmakers, photographers, whoever, that just kind of like meander and don't have a point.
Well, I think a lot of people, they get twisted, and after we kind of go through some bad things, I can give you some feedback on why I think people do these bad things, but there's probably good reasons why people make these mistakes. I actually, I think I understand why a lot of these things are done, but what else? What are some other bad things that hurt that you've seen that just like you think suck and ruin people's websites?
Well, bad design, but that's pretty
What is bad
self-evident
design,
as
though?
well. Showing up on the website, landing, and not knowing where to go. I guess that's UX too, but bad design would be
Like, what is the thing that Jared, in his fleshly / snobby reaction, goes to the site and goes, that person's site is crap.
bad fonts.
Exactly.
You know, so the actual like design of the site, yeah,
Style.
bad fonts, bad style, bad images, like not really thinking through. And you might be a bad designer, by the way. Like, I don't think being a wedding filmmaker automatically means that you're going to know how to design a good website.
No, I think wedding filmmakers are some of the least qualified people to weigh in on good design in the entire industry. Like,
Right.
planners naturally know what looks good. Florists typically know what looks good. They're in
Because these
aesthetics.
people are literally designers.
They're in
Photographers,
Photographers.
are going to be designers in a lot of ways. Like, they have a lot of symmetry.
Well,
They,
just
you know,
culturally, photographer culture is much more. The importance of it is there. So
it's
yeah,
changing for filmmakers.
Yeah,
I would
hopefully.
say. I think it is. I do think filmmakers are kind of forced to become better designers and kind of put a priority on
well,
aesthetics
it's taste,
more.
right? It's better taste.
So if you're not with it, you got to get with it quickly, because otherwise you have these kids coming up and design is all they know. It's more about the design in a lot of ways than it is about the actual films. So
I think there's a couple of mistakes I see consistently. First of all, where information is placed on the site, on what pages, how much it repeats or doesn't repeat, and how much of it is below the fold. And a lot of times it's a little bit of a debated topic on how is it bad to have a lot of important things below the fold. I am of the belief personally that like if it's really important, like I try to think through what is something I want someone to see. Like if someone visits my site, I want them to see X, Y, and Z with no questions, right? Some of those things might be like a way to click on the contact form, a way to look at specific deliverables we might have, or pricing, or whatever it is for the brand. And these things will vary based on your brand, your goals, whatever it is. But the most important things, I think sometimes people make them, put them in places. And if you don't know what below the fold means, it means like, if really key information is a very long scroll away from the top of the page. So if a person gets to the page and then they're like, they scroll a little bit, they see like my story, and then they scroll down a little more and it's like, you know, you and your wife, and it's like, get to know Jared and Sam. And then it scrolled down and it's like a quote from your couples. And like, maybe these are really important to you.
right.
But maybe you're like, you just filled out your page because you're like, well, I got it. Like, I bought a template.
Well,
It
yeah,
has this crap in it. Or
Let's talk about kind of maybe like key points that you think are necessary on each page. And like, I'm gonna come at it from the side of like a salesperson, because that's what I do, and I do see the website as an integral part of the sales process. Like, it sets your client up for a sales call with me. But what are some kind of main key points of information that you think every wedding filmmaker's website should have?
well, I think we should talk about that. But I do think it's important to say like the things that are hurting you are probably more important than those things. Even like spelling mistakes. Like
Sure, the
like
basics.
glitchy.
Yeah.
It is basics, but you see it a lot. So it's just like,
What
yeah,
are some ways that people can avoid that? Because like,
hire a professional.
Okay.
One.
Yeah.
B, because then you can yell at them for screw.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, I think, just put it up and they're overwhelmed and they're like, I have to get something up, but I'm not a web developer, so therefore.
At the very least, pay someone to proofread your whole site. Literally just go on Fiverr and say, well, like, I will pay a web designer to read this, or a copywriter, like whatever it is. But like, even you're just a friend, someone you care about, like that likes
Go
you.
to coaching and have Jay look at it really quickly.
No, not me. I'm not the person. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, like I think people like don't overthink it. I mean, some people literally just need to take all their website copy, paste it into a document that has spell correction, and make sure it has.
I would say,
but even like I think like overly cumbersome wording is a big one. Like too much like weird flowery, like capturing moments of timeless wedding bliss using like this kind of silly goofy branding language that's just filler crap that doesn't mean anything. Like, couples can spot that stuff a mile away, and that's why when people say authenticity, they mean not that. What I think a lot of people take authenticity is write about yourself a lot, which I also don't think. I guess some brands it might be important, but I do think I have been to sites where I've been like, they have too much. But anyway, what it has to have.
You've done this way more than me. But I've been on a few sites.
Yes.
And I would say the majority of people that I've been on their websites as wedding filmmakers have way too much content.
Way too much of the wrong content. They actually usually will have like nothing
like,
about their packages.
The about me is huge about like this flowery language that doesn't matter and actually doesn't apply to their work. And it's just like, I don't know. A lot of times now you can tell it's like done in ChatGPT. It's just
or at
like,
least that
means
the person
nothing.
like the person has nothing to say.
Yeah.
Like if you started your business like this, I want to make really cool wedding films. I like cameras and I just want to shoot and get paid. The biggest way to expose yourself that you're just trying to make money is to lie on the internet and say that you actually have a bunch of values that you don't, because you don't want to say, I just like doing this and I want to get paid. You could just say nothing about that. You could just make a great site. And like, I'll say it all like this. The website should be focused on the user, not on you. That is the biggest thing. And so like, depending on your brand and what you're trying to sell, like if you're a bottle brush, like you're trying to target a unique couple, you're going to, and like, I know people love those sites. Go check out Bottle Brush Films, their website. They're Australian. It's really cool. They might have changed it now, but it's cool. It's quirky. It's weird. I'm for that. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. Now, I tend to personally prefer to cast a wider net, but it doesn't mean that site's bad. It's objectively good. So I wouldn't say that, the only good websites are the ones that generate thousands of leads and everyone likes. Or the only good websites are ones that are super curated and good at getting your ideal client. What I will say about both of them that they have in common is both of them are targeting the audience that is viewing the site, and it's giving them what they want, the experience that they want. And I think most people's sites don't work for them because they misalign their audience a little with what the experience they give them on their site. So they think this person who found them on the Knot, who clicked on 17 other people's sites, is super interested in the individuals, and that's what they're picking them on. What do you think a couple who comes over from the Knot, who's looking at multiple filmmakers, what is the first page that they're looking for?
They want to see people's work or their pricing.
Pricing.
Yeah.
I think pricing.
I think it's evenly split.
I think
because they don't care about the pricing. If
I would say it probably can't be easily split, only because like that same couple might have already seen their work on Instagram.
Maybe,
but they have definitely not seen the pricing.
Maybe.
So there's probably more people who like where's the information gap? The information gap is your pricing and your packages. It is not always your work, and it's definitely not. Maybe they get there and they go, oh. Wow, Katie Mary, I want to hire her. She helps elephants in Africa. Everyone told everyone to do that. It's like, so I have to go help elephants in Africa to work in weddings? No. It's fine if you do, and it's good to talk about. But like this entire idea of like that your website has to like make you 360 and talk about all your causes you're into. And you don't need to do all that stuff, but you do need to meet the expectation. Now for Katie Mary, she's working with a very high-end clientele. They are looking at some of that stuff. Like they can hire anyone in the world, all their work is good. So aligning with someone who aligns with their values might be important. If you're working in a local market, that person is they're not looking at you. They're not going like, oh, should I hire Katie Mary or Jose Villa? Mm-hmm. They're going, well, how much can we afford? Then hire the best one. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people's sites like are not providing the information that the customer wants. Mm-hmm. And that's really between you and your customers and you and your brand to determine what those things are. That's the simplest way I can put it. But you asked earlier, like, what are the things a good website would have in each page? I think your homepage should be visually compelling and beautiful. It should definitely have, if you're a filmmaker, video in your slider. If you don't have video in your slider, what the heck are you doing? There are limitations if you're a Showit user. 8 megabytes, kind of pretty restrictive. You can do it, you can fix it, but you better have a video slider. I think just a very clear navigation, even like good branding, no spelling mistakes. Like, I don't think you need a ton of other stuff on your homepage, except for like some button that tells you to click on to go learn what's the next thing you want a person to do. That should probably be on their homepage. And maybe it differs from brand to brand. Maybe you're like and to put it in perspective, we have 3 brands. We have Merriment Films, Stop Go Love, and Huxley Film. All of them have a not very different, but I would say pretty. It's different enough that they are very different customers in terms of what we want them to do. Like, I would say for Merriment Films, we want them to look at packages in concert with price. That's very important. We want them to know. And of course, be able to see the work. And then I think a big thing that is an emphasis for both Merriment Films and Stop Go Love for us is looking at packages and the deliverables in the packages so that they know what they're going to get. So that they know, like, this is what they mean by highlight film. They clicked the highlight film. Oh, this is what they mean by a toast. Oh, they watched the toast. Oh, this is how their ceremony is. So, like, giving people the ability to explore your deliverables is for both of those.
Well, and allow people to decide what they want, and before they're even thinking about price.
Yes,
it's about a sales journey. That's why
it's a customer journey. Like in marketing and sales, we always talk about customer journeys and demographic groups, and every demographic group and persona group has different customer journeys. But you have to be able to understand what is this person's click journey through your site, and what are they trying to learn, and Huxley Film, we don't have pricing and we don't actually have packages. Mm-hmm. And we have good reasons for that because every wedding that we're doing there is pretty custom and unique. And so I think more people, by the way, think that that's the category they're in than they actually are, by the way. I don't think most of you should be having websites like that. Like you don't, if you're like only shooting within 3 hours of your house, no offense, and it's literally no shade. Like, it is totally normal and fine. Don't listen to someone who tells you, like, everything should be custom. It's going to cost you money because that customer that you're actually serving isn't, like, planning. They're not going to hire you for 4 days. So you don't need to, like, have a custom deliverable. They all want you for 1 day. So just make it easy for people. And I think that is, like, what do they want? They want it to be easy for them. And so homepages just need to be compelling and good at branding and don't screw up.
Yeah.
Interior pages, I think, have more specifics that they need to do.
Yeah. I would say, importantly, to realize that none of this is easy. Understanding your own brand takes a lot of time and a lot of introspection, right? Like, you have to really sit down and be realistic with yourself about what type of brand you have before you can even start approaching your website in terms of, like, what elements are going to be on that web page. Like, I think every web page kind of has a very similar kind of theme. Like, obviously there's an about page. You probably have some form of, like, services, explanation,
home, about, portfolio.
Maybe, portfolio page, maybe pricing, contact form.
Well, I think you're going to have pricing / packages / collections, something where people can explore how you give them the offering.
Yep.
People always, and if you don't, I think that's, even if it's, we make custom collections for discerning couples. And so you know, it says collections. They go to the page, and instead of maybe specifically telling them what the packages are, you tell them about the experience and why it's so custom and all that.
Well,
Like,
yeah, it's KT Mary.
you know, you can
just
do
has
that.
a website that says KT Mary, contact me. Like,
No,
because she can get away with that.
Have you been to hers?
Not in a while.
So no, so we do the study on.
Yeah.
I always use hers as a study, and I always tell people she's an example of high end luxury, and her thing is all about like. You hear like Natalie Denice talk about it a lot from In Good Company PR, and pretty much a lot of people like, you know, talk about your brand values. I think that's very much a luxury wedding industry thing. I don't think it.
And by the way, most of you are like, oh yeah, that's me. It's not you. It's no offense. Again, like you're not charging $50,000 to photograph someone's wedding. You're working at the country club, so don't approach because this is another big turnoff. I think for a lot of clients is you create a website that's for ultra luxury people. You create an experience that's for ultra luxury people, and you're selling to the local country club that's just like wants to hire you for $2,000. It doesn't work. It's a turn off to the $2,000 client when they're like, "Hey, have this. This is me. This is KT Mary's thing. I photograph elephants in Africa."
Yeah.
No one cares if you're if
well,
they're
no,
just like
it's not. No one cares. Your customer doesn't care.
no one cares who's going to be hiring you.
Yes.
That realistically,
Yes.
like get there and then you could talk about it and your brand can grow. That's what people mean by like my brand is a growing brand and you know I'm working with a higher end clientele than I was last year. More than likely that clientele, just be realistic with yourself. Like cater to your clientele. Make it an easy sales experience for them
and
at that
I think
level.
additionally that kind of superfluous kind of affinity building kind of branding that you can do, it's not that it can't be on your site if you're selling to the country club, but it can't make it hard to do what they want. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if it's just as simple as like, how do I organize it, right? So if I have my like slider image, which that's a lot of people, hero image, big picture on the site when you go, the thing that's there, that's a slider. You have your giant slider image, and then maybe you have like a couple boxes or areas. It's like, you know, get a hold of us for still booking, or check out our packages, or just like a collections button, something that is critical and important. And maybe what you put below the fold is all that stuff. You know, like it's not that I'm saying these things are meaningless.
I would say don't even put it on there because no one in your clientele even cares. It's just gonna help your client meander around and not get to the point of booking.
I basically agree with you. I think it's not so. I think the question is it helping or hurting?
It's hurting.
I would say that's hard to actually like really say it's hurting, but I don't disagree that messy looking, noisy sites are bad.
Yeah.
I'm more just saying like I don't know everything. So if you're like in the Midwest,
Yeah.
or like if you're like in the Pacific Northwest and everybody cares about preserving salmons, and you have an about page about yourself and you say, I love supporting salmon preservation.
Sure.
And I don't think it's like going to kill you to have it. I just think like you need to realize it's not.
I would say that is much more of a luxury experience though.
Sure.
Like, and this is me as somebody who we have brands in 3 different categories. We have, you know, kind of like low, I wouldn't say lower end, manageable cost, you know, much more like affordable luxury, I guess.
Yeah.
Our middle tier, which is, you know, we're averaging around $8K. And then we have our luxury tier. That's probably around like 15 to 20. And so I say this as somebody who has a lot of experience in 3 different markets. And I can tell you because, you know, especially I'm more talking to the person who's just like building their first website. I think this episode is probably geared more towards that person. Creating the salmon website, being the salmon guy. Sure, you can put it on your website. If you're first starting out, the first thing people care, and you're in, you know, $2,000 price range, no one's hiring you because of that. No one cares. They care about your price. That's how they found you. You're beating people on price. That's how you're able to get that type of work. When you start working in that middle tier, maybe you start
It's certainly
focusing
not.
on your passions and getting the ideal clientele, but you have to be fully booked before you can give a crap about that stuff.
It's certainly not actually important.
Yeah.
And it's more just like I don't care is really what I'm saying. I think like, but if you do it, and like, I guess I would say I'm not, like, as much as I'm speaking from my expertise and my market and what we've done, and doing it a lot and multiple times for multiple people and knowing what I'm talking about. I don't just presume to know every little thing that's ever about anyone and ever. So I'm just kind of saying, hey, listen, if you're hearing this and you're like, what the heck? I love dog rescues and you want to put it on your site, like by all means, I don't think it's just realize like, it's not probably really helping you. And it could be hurting you if you're doing it wrong for sure.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of people, they spend a lot of time on that stuff, Jared. Like,
Yeah.
They spend a lot of time like saying like, people are going to hire me because they'll realize what a great person I am or how interesting I am or all these things. And it's like, that's not a customer.
Well, that's why people are doing it is because it's like literally reinforcing their beliefs about themselves as being like a good person or something. And it's just like,
some people
it's not
care,
helping your sales.
Not
dude.
at all. Not at all. And I think like it's, especially if it's not, the other things suck. Like if the person's like goes there, they can barely find your contact button. They go to your like this is like such a basic mistake people make, and I'll never understand it. You have a packages page, or collections, or whatever it is, with no examples. Why?
Yeah.
It's the most obvious thing in the world that if you have a type of deliverable that you just embed a version of it, everyone could do that. You make it. Like, then the person's going to get on the phone with you and they're going to say, I saw that you have a legacy film. What's that? Oh, I'm glad you asked me. Let me talk about something that you could have just watched. Show, don't tell. It's like a perfect example of show, don't tell. And like, it's such a basic thing. And I honestly am like, I look at people's pages and I'm like, the time you spent telling everyone about your love for crow rescue, you could have would have been better spent
And
doing something else.
exactly. People only have a certain amount of time.
Yes.
So wouldn't you rather them get to know the product and be in a sales frame of mind earlier? Because they might be like, okay, yeah, this guy really likes salmon or crows or whatever it is. Cool.
Like our weird charities.
I know. Shows how much we
rescue.
care about animal rescue.
It seems like everyone except me really cares about animal rescue.
Everyone's just
I don't
copying.
hate animal rescue, by the way.
Everyone is just copying Katie Mary and people at the top who are doing this kind of stuff.
They're like,
I mean,
what's
can we
something
be
that-
honest about that?
Yeah,
That's
what's
what they're
something that
doing.
I could talk about that won't offend anyone?
Yeah.
That will make me look like a good person.
Just so everyone knows, on my website, I support Gaza. I just want to put it out there.
Putting it out there. Make America great again.
Yeah, that's not gonna work. But yeah, I think I would rather. This is me personally. Again, do whatever you want. I'm just saying, me as someone who sold literally thousands of weddings, I would say get them into a sales process.
Yes.
Before they get, and you might say like, oh, my personality, it's a part of the sales process. I would say get them into getting to know the products and services that you do, because that's why they're hiring you. And then along the way, that could be a sweetener. It's give them the coffee, then give them the sugar, right? And they can decide how much of the sugar
Well, that's what I mean.
they want.
That's what I mean. How it's
know?
organized is like if the click journey naturally leads to, they get through the stuff that's most important, and if they want to keep exploring, they can
Sure,
look at that
sure.
stuff. I don't really think it's the end of the world, but I
agree.
do think it's like whatever you put first for people to see, they're gonna look at, and they're not gonna infinitely look.
Yeah.
They might they're gonna have like a click limit in their brain.
Yeah.
And I forget what it used to be. I think the average person clicks on one link on your site. They're not willing to click on more.
Yeah.
And you can look at your own stats on these things. You can look at who's visiting, and you can look at what they're clicking on. You can even get like heat maps on your site and see where they hover. And I encourage you to do all that stuff. Get a heat map, make a heat map, look at what they're doing. Because I think you're going to find out that almost every person that goes to your site, homepage, pricing.
Exactly.
homepage, packages,
You want to know how much people click on our about page?
like not much.
Way less than our packages page, way less than our portfolio page. Like those are the two. Like that just proves our point. Like
Yes.
no one cares about you. I say that
Most don't, and if you
crap
think
on
that
people.
they do, you're gonna be losing money.
This is my ideal site. Ready? Homepage. Link to the contact form on the homepage.
Of course, every page should have a link to your contact form.
Portfolio page. Link to the contact page. So like literally the driving force is I want their second click to be the contact page. I want if it's not, I want their third click to be the contact page. If it's not, the fourth click, it's always in their face nonstop. Get people to the contact form, get them to fill it out, and then let them meander. If they want more, like you said, they'll meander, they'll wander, they'll find out about your love for animals. Like allow them that type of journey, allow them to do it at their own pace, I guess. But I think the driving force for most people should be sales. And obviously I'm biased as a salesperson.
I don't disagree. I mean, the point of the website is to get them to fill out your form. It serves no other purpose.
You're flirting with somebody on your website, but you are at the end of the day like, hey, I want you to give me your number. Like I'm flirting. Flirting. Give me your number. Give me your number. Be relentless about that.
I don't think the average person who's in our industry has really grappled with what a website is actually supposed to do. Mm-hmm. They think but I think it's very simple. Like if someone is your customer, do they go to your website still?
If someone is already your customer? No,
they don't. If someone doesn't ever want to be your customer, do they go to your website? No. The only person who's going to your website is either a vendor partner or people who are like trying to figure out if you're reputable or which don't forget about those people, which is actually why you put some of that other stuff on there. Mm-hmm. But mostly it's prospective couples, prospective clients who might want to hire you. And so the needs of that person should come first, and the needs of that person are going to vary based on your things. So, so back to the original topic.
Well, before, let's talk about who those people are, right? Because I think there's a couple people that, thinking about who's landing on your page is kind of a big part of this process too, is like, prospect couples who already know your work and just want to reach out to you, start the conversation, hot lead.
That'll be Exhibit A.
Exhibit A. Exhibit B is somebody who maybe comes across your work and is like, they do good work. Maybe they saw you on Instagram. Maybe they just want to find out a little bit more about you. They click. They're not going to probably book, but maybe you can get them to be curious about you. How much do they cost? It's not on their website. I would like to find out that information. I'm going to fill out the form. So kind of like a meandering, type of lead, maybe I wouldn't say necessarily a cold lead because they're on your website. I probably wouldn't say that's necessarily a cold lead. And then, maybe vendors, maybe people that are stalking you, like your competition.
I mean, maybe even like somebody who got referred by a wedding planner.
Yeah.
And they just only want to look at your work.
Yep.
In fact, one thing we do is on our Huxley Film site, we have, for planners we work with a lot, we have a URL for each individual planner. Mm-hmm. And we give each individual planner a URL and say, hey, next time when you have referrals, this is only your work. So you might not want to see other people's work. So this is yours. You can go on here. But either way, it's like we're kind of curating even that experience for those couples.
It's important to come at it with fresh eyes as each prospect lead. Planners are really important. What do they think of when they land on our website? Like, are they impressed? Is it very clear to them?
I think it matters a lot more in luxury too. Luxury planners always go, like I had a planner say to me, well, what's your website like now? Mm-hmm. Like they want to make sure it's good. They don't want to, because they're sending, when they go, hey, this wedding filmmaker A, I'm going to refer them to you. They're sending you their website.
Yeah.
More than their social, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the person naturally moves to the social, but they're sending them the website. And so, what are they looking for? My guess is like if the planner is sent them already, the planner knows their budget. So the price isn't the primary thing for that person, even though it probably matters. But the deliverables, maybe some of that other stuff. So it's just like I'll make it really simple for people. To know what you should do with your website, you need to know who your customers are and not who you want them to be. I think this is the preoccupation people have, is they want a different customer. Everyone wants a different customer than the one that they have. And I'm like, the one that you have is going to pay your bills today. The one that you want will pay your bills later, but you might never.
How do you balance that though? Because I think that's where a lot of people are.
I think
and that's what a lot of educators out there will say is like, put out what you want to, film in the future.
I don't think this is not about what you put out. It's about your just navigation. It has nothing to do with the content. It has to do with how easy do you communicate the information.
Well, I'm saying more so like everyone wants to be in luxury. Every single person wants to be in luxury. So they're going to say, well, I want to create an experience that's a luxury experience. So therefore, I'm going to talk about the elephants. And nobody just wants to make it practical to just get people to contact for them. They want to because that's the client they want. They want to give their ideal client an experience. They're not catering to their current client. Like, do you think there's a balance there?
I personally
what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I think if your work is generating not luxury leads, then what does it matter? I guess is what I'm saying. Like, if your work and your contacts are out, you can't get out over your skis, Like, you have to let it come to you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you can't slowly navigate there, but you can't alienate the audience that's actually hitting your site.
Yeah.
And you can, but just know you're going to lose money. And if you're okay with it, it's none of my business. Here's the thing is you can do whatever you want. You can sacrifice anything you want to your business. Like, if you have a kid and you're like, I got to work less, you might decide to make your site more alienating on purpose and just go for it. Make it more, turn off people you don't want to work with. I don't care. It's not my business. But I'm just telling you, it's not making you money. And I think that's what we're saying is the website should be making you money. So,
this is the truth too, is I think a lot of people, I think about our work with a company like Stop Go Love. There's all our weddings aren't a certain type of wedding. They aren't all $250,000 weddings. We'll do a $100,000 wedding too. We kind of have a little bit of a range, right?
Yes.
But I feel like our website kind of targets the median between those.
Yes.
And that's the point.
Yes.
A lot of people are going from country club wedding. That's all the work that they have is at the local country club 10 minutes away. Can be still beautiful weddings, but that codes a certain way to a luxury person. So they go from that to being like, I want to do luxury weddings. I'm going to build this website for a luxury clientele.
Well, here's a perfect example of that. Okay, the site says,
try to make too much of a jump.
The site says something like destination. I'm a wanderer. I'm a wandering man of film. Hire me for your next adventure. And you go, oh wow, this person must travel a lot. I'm doing a wedding in Yosemite. Let's go see. And then you look, and they have one wedding in the woods, but it's not even destination.
It's that purgatory chasm.
Yeah. And the rest of them are all just basic country club weddings. And there's a disconnect between what you're showing and what you're saying. And I think
well, people read through that.
People
in 2
read through
seconds.
that because what
They're
you're
not stupid.
I know what you're saying. You're saying, I hope to get booked for destination weddings. And so if I just say the words SEO, and I notice I haven't mentioned SEO one time because it's a scam.
Oh, come on.
It's a scam.
Come on.
SEO is a scam.
No.
It is a scam.
You're just saying that to be.
I'm not. I've said it on hundreds of times for the years. I've said it to corporate clients when they ask us all about SEO. It's not a scam for everyone. If you're in a market that's driven by SEO, but our market, wedding filmmaking, SEO is a very tiny part of lead generation. It's almost inconsequential because we have social media, listing sites, and referrals. So nobody is writing the search density for every, and I talked to Aiden about this because we both laugh about it. The search density for wedding filmmaking topics is nothing.
Yeah, go to Google Trends.
I think it's less than in some markets less than 1,000 a month people writing that term.
The wedding videography?
Yes.
That super small.
Hence,
super small.
Scam.
So,
anyone who's I'm going to sell you a wedding SEO,
and
then they're so I can compete for 1,000 queries.
Yeah.
You can't. It's a waste of your time.
So this is also what I would say is, if you type in Massachusetts videographer, guess who comes up first?
Maybe us.
Us. I had no idea until recently. I was like, oh,
why aren't we making millions then?
Well, do you know how many Google leads we got last year? Leads from Google that people wrote down as that being the lead source.
Maybe 10 or 2?
Maybe 10.
Out of 1,200 or
Out
something.
of 1,200, 10 were from Google. So just, I
How is it
understand
not
what
a
you're
scam,
saying.
then? It's a scam.
I understand what you're saying. I do think a little bit of that, though, is there is a little bit more because people will naturally see you and they'll go to your website, then they go to your Instagram because they want to look at work or
Well,
whatever.
SEO doesn't
And
mean
then
what it
they-
used to mean.
and then
That's
they-
what I'll really
yeah.
say is
And it does depend. Exactly to your point, it does depend because I think if you're like, I'm getting married at Santorini and I want a photographer who is shot at Santorini.
But you're going to look at that on
Santorini
Vimeo.
photographer. What comes up actually is American photographers who have blog posts
Mostly Vimeo, though.
at Santorini
Mostly
or Vimeo
YouTube
or whatever.
videos. Mostly like that's what I'm saying is
Sure.
SEO doesn't mean what it used to mean. It used to SEO was like really important when self-hosting was really important, but now that we have very reliable content hosting platforms, like you're better off outsourcing your SEO to these other websites and then making sure they do a good job getting people to your website. But like I don't think you should, because this is why it's a problem. People who get overly hyped up on SEO build their entire website around it and they think it's why they're not getting leads. And I'm like, it's not why you're not getting leads. You're not getting leads because no one is looking for the things that no one is looking for wedding filmmaking on Google search. Not no one, but not enough people for you to run a business. And
Is that crazy to you?
no,
You don't think it's crazy that
I think it makes
more
total
people aren't finding people via Google?
No, I think it makes total sense. The wedding industry is not a Google-driven industry. Like, think of it this way: why do people ask the venue, who's on your recommended list? Why don't they just go on Vimeo, or why don't they just go on Google and find someone? They don't. They like referrals are such a big part of our industry. So like I think it's probably most like 50% of most everyone's bookings. And so the referral tree and the priority of referrals is much more important than SEO. And I don't think people don't trust Google for that kind of search because
I agree.
They're not informed enough on what they're just gonna, and they also know that like all the big national chains, maybe they don't know it, but they feel that experience of like, they write it and it's just like, I heart wedding videos and it's just all spam, like the entire deliverable. So it's like, not only
Well,
are
you know when you type in Google, even for like I don't know, like a home renovator, home renovation, Massachusetts, a lot of people will come up. Are they the best? Oftentimes,
no, you literally get
probably
Angie's
not.
list.
You
get like Angie's list and like Service Pro and
you
like
get
all these
people
like
who
national.
have hired some SEO person and they're the best at creating SEO. Not always the best contractor, right?
Well, no. So
same thing in the wedding.
How do you
it's all
get good
experience
SEO
based.
back in the day? Is like you just spam keywords all over your website. And so like, oh, I want to compete on this one venue. So what are you gonna do? Have 8 pages on your website? That's how you would get good SEO.
People are just burnt out on it. They
It's
know it's
stupid.
not the real.
And Google doesn't like it either. So this is the thing you need to realize. Google changes their what they recommend, and they've been doing it more and more. And they go towards rich content, and they go natural language. They no longer give you the score because like that was a way of hacking their search engine. SEO was like not how search is supposed to work. It was hacking the search because no one liked that. No customer liked like that you could just keyword jam your page and then they would get in front of you. So I think a lot of people, Google's changing it a lot. So that's why you just need to focus on like, if put yourself in a perspective, don't try to get too cute or too crazy. If I went to this page, answer a couple questions. Would I trust it? Would I like it? Would I know what to do? And maybe with that one, would I be able to learn what I wanted to learn by going to this website? If a person can't easily do those 4 things and you can't say yes, yes, yes to all of those, your website's hurting you. Because all it takes is for 1 or 2 of your competitors to beat you to the punch with those things. And then the person's going to go, I learned what I wanted to learn by this person's site. I've heard people complain that they cannot get a price on anyone's site. Like brides on bride groups get so furious that they have to get inquiries for every single, and they have to like hop on the phone with you to learn about your price. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you have to do that. There might be a reason, but I am saying like you have to pay attention to those things, at least know that people don't like it. And if you're not getting leads, maybe that's why. Maybe you're doing something that they don't like and your work is a little worse than the competitors. And if you did something that they did like, your work, it would overcome the deficit in your work or the deficit in your referrals or whatever it is. You like you have to take every advantage you could get. And your website is part of that and making it easy for people. And I think we do a good job with that.
Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned the kind of the tree is fairly similar for all brands, but we do things a lot differently at the same time. Like with Merriment Films, like our country
So
club.
really quick, the tree.
Yeah.
What you're saying is each website has the same goal, which is get people to fill out the form.
Get people to fill out the form.
Yeah.
Homepage, services. Huxley doesn't have services intentionally.
Kind
Stop
of
Glove
it
and
does.
Merriment has
I
the
think it says
services.
collections.
Has an about. Huxley does have more like of an about, like our vision, like that kind of stuff. It does meander. It does force people to have to like massage the brand a little bit more. But I would say with Huxley, we list the prices on our website.
Kind of.
We do. All the prices are on the website.
Now they are?
Or no, for Merriment. Did I say Huxley?
Yeah, Huxley.
For Merriment, you can see what all the packages cost. Why do I do that? It's because I'm intentionally competing for price in that price range of $2,000 to $4,000. It's a knife fight there.
Just for personally, if you're under $6,000, I think you should have your prices.
I think so too. A lot of people will advise against that. I would say if pricing is a competitive advantage to you, use it. Show people. Like they talked to another videographer. They went through this whole thing. They're $6,000. Ugh. Okay, I can't afford that $6,000. Oh, these people are $2,000. Oh, great. Boom. Like I'm just gonna fill out a form because they're exactly what I want, and they didn't have to wait for me to respond. I'm one step ahead.
Well, not only that, and this is the big thing. What do you want your sales call to be? Do you want your sales call to be, tell me more about this thing I saw that I love, or only talk about money the whole time? I think the less you talk about money on a sales call and the more you talk about the customer and the product, the better.
Yep. My sales calls for Merriment are shorter generally because it's out there a little bit more. They've already bought into it, and that's intentional. Like Merriment is a smaller price point. I don't want to have a full half an hour, 45-minute consultation with the Merriment couple because they didn't pay for that time. Stop Go Love, I'll talk to them a little bit more. It's all built into the cost. But we don't list our prices on Stop Go Love. We make people have to reach out intentionally. I don't even put a starting at for Stop Go Love because I just want them to reach out. And then if they can't afford Stop Go Love, I'm passing them down.
And by the way, the reason we do that is because we have such a robust referral network that the referral is like already opening the door for us. But you got to know your business to know how to like do this stuff.
Yep.
So just
Huxley has a starting at price.
yes.
So because otherwise we would get a million inquiries who weren't even interested in Stop Go Love prices. They really should be Merriment people. So, it kind of turns a lot of people away, but we don't care. If someone's expecting us to do a destination wedding at Merriment prices, it's like, it's not going to work. But that's the point is we're already communicating a lot of things. And, I think where the sales perspective comes in is like, I almost want people to be 70%, 75% bought in and name on the dotted line by the time they reach to me. Yeah, but by the time they get to me with the sales call.
In almost all brands, that's kind of our goal. It's not always
I'm
possible,
the closer, man.
but
That's all I want to be
yeah,
is
it's
a closer.
like you either want the person to be like, oh yeah, they want to hire you, but you got to talk to them first.
Yep.
Or
I want to come in the 8th and 9th inning and 3 strikes and the game's over.
So why don't we close this one out and I want to just give people a couple questions to ask themselves and then tell them about something we're working on. But just to ask the question, is it helping me or hurting me? If you're not getting enough leads, your website's probably contributing. So that's one thing. You probably need to take a look at that.
Everyone should have Google Analytics on their or some sort of analytics to see how many people are coming to your website. Because frankly, if you're having, 5 people a month hit your website, you probably just need more leads.
You need more leads.
And if you're like, oh, I don't know why I'm not booking, you just need more leads. Like get more leads, you'll get more booking. Like that seems like the most obvious take of all time.
I would say I'm not going to give you a number of percentages on like click-through rate because it very much varies based on a lot of factors. But but just know get a baseline of your traffic, at least like kind of understand what your traffic is, and then kind of evaluate in your head, like if I had 200 visitors a month, 500 visitors a month, 1,000 visitors a month, did they fill out their form? Mm-hmm. And so ask yourself, like, am I getting leads? Am I getting good leads? I think that would be thing. And then how are my sales calls? What are the things that I'm talking about on the phone that I'm pitching, that I'm striving against my website on, that I'm explaining that I shouldn't be explaining? Like, what could I put on the website that would make my sale calls go easier? I think you should always really be focused on making your sales, wherever it happens, easier by making the information that the person needs to have the call better easier to find. If the people aren't reaching out, and then when you talk to them, they're constantly asking dumb questions, and you're always getting mad, these are both telling me your website is not helping you.
I would pair this too with the things on your website. Make them the positive things. Mm-hmm. Like, it should be informative still,
yes,
right?
You don't show everything.
But make it positive, make it exciting, make it all the good things. Any items that a person could object to, get that in the sales process.
Yes.
Because if you're a good salesperson, you can massage a lot of those details. Why don't you include raw footage in the packages? This other person does raw footage. I don't want that on the website.
Like
we don't include raw footage.
An FAQ, like, here's why we don't do that. No.
Because someone might just be like, well, they don't do raw footage, therefore I'm not going to. I've heard I need raw footage. I don't even know why I need raw footage, but I hear, therefore, I'm not going to hire this person because they said they don't on the website. I'm not even going to reach out. But if I can get on a phone call and be like, well, we don't do it because of this. This is what it is. People could be like, oh, I had no idea that's what it was.
Oh, we don't do it, but I'll do it for you. You could if you want to.
Sure, exactly.
Like I'm not going to talk about my like NDAs on the website.
Yep.
Because I don't want you to ask me for an NDA.
No privacy clause, terminology on the website, any of that. Because, if you bring it up to people.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Give me the NDA. Sure.
I don't even want to bring it up until the contract. I'm like, yeah, we can use this for marketing purposes. And like, people will be like, wait, what? If they get to that point, they're already pretty much past.
You're just trying to incentivize the next action you want someone to take.
Yes.
You're not trying to fix everything at once. And so I think viewing a website is like a step on a journey instead of the end all be all.
That's very important.
We'll make a really, really big impact on your site. And so if you're wondering if it's helping you or hurting you, all you got to do is look at these kind of things. And if you're not getting anyone going to your site, then I guess you got to get someone to go to your site. But that's neither here nor there for this kind of podcast. And one thing I want to tell everybody about, we've talked about it on the show. We do have a new product that we've made called LumaSites. You head over to lumasites.com and you can buy, these are, we actually have WordPress coming soon, but we have Show It themes. These are already out of the box what we think a website should be that will be optimal to help you communicate to your customers. It does have some of that extra superfluous stuff, but in general, it's got great packages, pages, really just kind of how we would recommend it. And it's based a lot on how we've done it in the past. We have, I think, 8 right now that you can look at.
Specifically for wedding filmmakers.
And photographers, actually. We've started adding a bunch of the photo features as well. So if you are looking for a theme, they're very affordable. And you do it yourself. And of course, we also offer custom design. So if you want either just help with your Show It site or you want your own design that you just kind of come up with, we have that too. So I really want to encourage you, if you're like hearing this and you're like, because this is the truth about this whole topic, you could just pay someone to do this for you. You don't have to be good at this at all. You could just be like, screw this. I have better things to do. I don't want to deal with it. I suck at it and I don't want to deal with it. And I want to like put that out there that that's not crazy. Being good at web design is hard. Knowing this stuff is hard. You should not be expected to know or be an expert on this. And so if you're like hearing this and you're like, oh my God, I like everything they just talked about, I don't have the courage to deal with. Mm-hmm. You can just pay someone and you can pay me. So, like we're happy to do it, or you just buy the themes. Like I said, they're very affordable. And I just want to see more people in the industry. And I just realized like everything was for photographers, but there was nothing really that focused on wedding filmmakers. Not to say that there's some magic feature that we have, just nice galleries that I think work for wedding filmmakers and nice homepages that work for wedding filmmakers. packages that work for wedding filmmakers, or at least the pages, and then a beautiful design.
Yep.
That just looks good out of the box. Slap a logo on, change the images. It's going to look good. And we wanted it to be easy because honestly, customers don't care if you have the same site as someone else.
Yeah.
Your pictures are going to be different. Your logos are going to be different. You can change the colors. So, and then it's different. And so head over there, Luma Sites.
It's a great place to get started because for new filmmakers, if you're just looking to get started now, like I remember being frustrated because I'm like, I just want to get out there and start selling. Like you have this anxiety. This is a great way to just get a website out quick. And the good news is you can build off of this site over time. You can keep on building it into being this perfectly curated site long term. You know, I think this is the great place to just get started.
We're not saying there isn't a place to hire a $20,000 web designer, branding person, and redo the whole thing. All that stuff is good, but most people, especially people who are getting started, you just need it. Like this is like the very first thing all of you should do is make your website good.
Yep.
And I really believe that. So
let me just wrap out on this. Weddingfilm.school. Visit there. If you want information.
We didn't tell them. It's lumasites.com, by the way.
Okay, cool. Lumasites.com. Go to weddingfilm.school.
Mm-hmm.
Subscribe to our newsletter. That's where you can find out all the information about Wedding Film School, all of our releases for the podcast, for YouTube, things that are going on
How about
the
this,
Facebook
Jared?
community.
How about we send them in the newsletter a 10% off Lumasites?
We will do that.
We'll do that.
Sounds good. This week, Lumasites 10% off. Get started. What is there a limit on this?
We'll save 30 days, like
30 days from
for
release.
all of April.
Great.
All of April.
Sounds good. We'll do it. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Wedding Film School Show, guys. We'll see you again next week.